welcome back to the Deep Threads Podcast. We are live and in action. It is Friday night. This is, I think, our first Friday night show. But unfortunately, we do not have our co-host here today. Mr. Wheels is not here today. Apparently, he doesn't know how to eat a potato. That's all I'm going to say. That going on. As always, you have KJAM, your host, here today. And we have a wonderful back in action guest here today. Hopefully, he'll be back here more often. My wonderful co-host today, Bo.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever you're celebrating with us, and we love to have you here.
I love the shimmy, shimmy, shake, shake. That is some beautiful stuff right there.
There we go.
So, Bo, we are back. We had a Thursday slated game. Ooh. It was the Rams against the Saints. I know you weren't here to do the pick'ems. I picked the Rams 27-24 over the Saints. Mm-hmm. And Wheels picked the Saints 31-27 over the Rams. Did you see any of that game on Thursday, just out of curiosity?
I was building a gingerbread house with the kid. I really was. Kelly was watching the score. She had Puka Nacua in fantasy. God bless her. She's starting off with a rocket hot. He was the dude. And but other than that, I didn't really catch much of it, to be honest.
You know who also built a phenomenal gingerbread house with like a 20-year-old? His name's Matt Stafford. Puka Nacua went off yesterday.
Yeah. Can't catch him.
You cannot catch him.
He's the gingerbread man.
Dude, I love it. I love the play. I love the play today. Thank you guys in chat for chiming in. We appreciate you guys, Kelly, Wheels, Anna. We do appreciate you guys chiming in. I hope you enjoy this energy today. But that being said, Kyren Williams looks freaking solid, man.
Yeah.
Kyren looks like the stud which Melvin Gordon was when he was there. Not Melvin Gordon. Who am I missing? Running back was there in the Super Bowl run. Why is his name escaping me? But he looks just as good as
Todd Gurley.
Todd Gurley. He looks just as good as Todd Gurley did when he was there. I mean, he's receiving the ball, he's rushing the ball. I mean, he's just all over his field. They're not bringing him down. I think he's in top 5 in rushing yards right now for the season, and he missed 4 games. Like, that's pretty darn impressive for a guy.
Second in yards right now. The guy's only, you wouldn't know it, he's $185. Like 185 pounds.
Wet.
He's not your.
Wet.
He's like your Isaiah Pacheco or a Shane, however you call him. But point being, there's a new running back style, and it's not like the Christian McCaffrey build or the Derrick Henry. It's the exact opposite of the Derrick Henry, where it's these little guys that can find and shimmy and shake and get through the gap.
Jalen Warren and Kyren Williams are both looking like studs this year.
Right.
Both of them kind of have this similar
Travis
build.
Etienne.
Yeah, Travis Etienne.
They're a little bit slimmer body types, a little more nimble, and but a little prone to injury.
Maybe. But as Ryan always says, man, the NFL comes in waves, though. So you get those speedy backs, and you get speedy corners, speedy linebackers, and then they start to beef up backs. They blow over guys. They kill those guys in the secondary. Then those guys have to beef up. So it's just the NFL does come in waves.
Yeah,
so,
you give Ryan way too much credit.
Maybe. Maybe. Maybe.
Just a little bit.
But I mean, he's got some good analogies, and he's got some good reasonings behind his thoughts. The only thing I will never give Ryan credit in is the fact that he is a Brock Purdy hater.
Yeah.
Hater.
We'll get into Purdy a little bit.
Yeah, we'll get into him a little bit today. We'll have a little bit more talks about these players of the year and stuff like that. But yeah, I love that you said that about Kyren Williams. I'm looking at his stats right now. He's only 240 yards behind CMC, and he's played, I think, 4 less games. Yes, 4 less games in CMC, and he's only essentially 2 games behind in stats. That's pretty freaking impressive for a guy that's in an offense that struggled at the beginning of the year. Like, they were not good.
Sean McVay can figure things out.
He is.
Injury plagued the offensive lineman getting back into full swing. Domination. I mean, Alvin Kamara was the exact opposite of Kyren Williams in this game. He went 9 carries, 19 yards, 2.1 average.
It was just
disgusting. And what we've seen out of Alvin lately, this is very un-Alvin-like.
And he's making $25 million. Yeah. Like, it's disgusting.
I think every fantasy owner was probably doing that Christmas song where they're like, Alvin! Like, where are you, dude? Where are you? Alvin!
That is fun. Oh, my God. Dude, if someone was doing that at home, that'd be priceless.
Alvin!
That is priceless. Stafford's also about to have a third wide receiver breaking a record. Yeah, Puka is probably... If he continues to do what he does, he's probably going to win Rookie of the Year. Dude's putting up phenomenal stats, and to be honest with you, he's actually number 2, I think, in wide receivers this year. He's just astounding what he's been able to do. He's number 2 in wide receivers this year, but he has been targeted more than anybody else in the NFL outside of Keenan Allen.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, you're going to have a tough debate there with like Stroud playing as well as he is.
But Stroud
nobody
being out
saw
for
it.
2 games is a big
I
factor.
get it, and Nakua's had his little down injury time too, a little bit in and out, but
Right.
but he's still producing at a phenomenal record, and it's unprecedented. But he's being a 5th round draft pick. That's pretty cool.
5th or 7th?
I think he was 5th round.
Was he 5th round?
Mm-hmm.
All right. You brought up one other team, right? Kamara, phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Did not perform.
Chris Olave had 123 yards.
Chris Olave.
Hyper targeted.
You know what's funny? I was talking to my sister a little about that. I was going through her roster. I'm like, Chris Olave is probably going to be your saving grace in this game because I don't see anybody else. Now, Rashid Shaheed did it again.
Touchdown.
He did it again. And it's drives me. It's Gabe Davis, right? Like, it's Gabe Davis Jr. It drives me insane.
Right.
But what's going on with Derek Carr there, man? Like, is Derek Carr the answer? Is he not the answer? Like, they signed him for a 3-year contract. They went out and got him. Like, what is going on there?
Nothing. I think that it's it's getting on the same page. It takes a year. It takes a year.
So you think this is just growing pains?
Yeah, I mean, and Derek Carr's Derek Carr. He's Tony Romo. Where's your ceiling? Just serviceable NFL starting quarterback. The defense is pretty good.
So as Cam Newton said, he's not a game changer; he's a game manager.
Yeah, it is what I guess. Yeah, good on him. But like, I'm not tearing him apart. I think Tony Romo's a great quarterback. I think one of the best. But he's not a like. Okay, what's going to take him over to the next level? I don't know.
I agree, Kelly.
That it's there.
The fans do love Taysom more, and I've been arguing this consistently for this team. The only way the time they win games is when they get Taysom involved in the offense. And again, they did not do it again yesterday. And it doesn't make sense. When Taysom is running in the red zone, they score constantly. And when you actually look at his production, he's actually carrying the ball almost as much as Kamara and Kendra Miller,
Right.
which is kind of insane. But yeah, like I think this actually to me is starting to break down to a coaching scheme.
8-7 Rams, 7-8 Saints. They're not out of it. They still got playoff hopes. They still got to run. The NFC South is wide open, so that's all good.
And it depends on what Tampa Bay does, and it depends on what Atlanta does coming up.
Right.
Yeah,
So
I completely
they're
agree.
still
with
in the mix. I mean, they're not out of it. So
you. I completely agree with you. All right, so that being said, let's get into Saturday's game slate. I mean, we've got Cincinnati going into Pittsburgh. This is a 4:00 game on Saturday, first game of the week, essentially outside of Thursday. You have a Jake Browning going up of, as of right now, a Mitch Trubisky. I know they're talking about Kenny Pickett clearing and possibly starting in this game, but from what I've seen, Mitch is supposed to be the starter at this point. What do you think this bodes for either of these teams? And then is there anybody you kind of like in these games, start him Sims? Because Jamar Chase is out.
Right.
He's been announced out with a AC sprain.
there's the obvious, let's first go over the injuries of both teams because there are some big names that are out. Like, and if
All
you've
right.
been living under a rock, you probably don't know, but Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, who are arguably the 2 best players on the Bengals team, are not going to be playing on Saturday.
All right.
DJ Reader, who's the interior defensive lineman for the
That's
Bengals,
big. That's
is
big.
also going to be out. That is huge. And the other on the other side, though, the Steelers have Patrick Peterson playing safety. And the
No
reason
Minka still?
no, they're all 5 safeties that they have rostered as starters are going to be sitting. I'm not joking. There's
They have a
5
cornerback playing safety.
yes, and then
Holy shit.
as of right now, Pickett's out, but that's a game time decision, I guess. Coach wants them to go watch Kenny Pickett. He's like, yeah, I need a quarterback, so I'll take anybody that'll play at this point. And really, Najee Harris, I'm going to say he's injured, even though he's not, because he's playing like he's injured. So I might as well just say he's injured, because if you're expecting to get anything out of him, you're not going to. So this will get us into sit-em stardoms. Now, how do the injuries affect fantasy?
Yeah, and I completely agree with that with the Najee thing, like, because we've been comparing him to Trent Richardson. He just can't find a gap.
No.
He runs forward.
I don't blame the offensive line. I blame the vision.
100%. Because if you have the production with Jalen Warren on that field and you can't have it with the guy who's been getting 300 touches a season, I think it's a running back, 100%. So that being said,
Sit-em stardoms?
stardoms, right? Like, you kind of have to go with T in this game, right? Like, it's going to be T all day.
It's T. My buddy was talking to me on the way here. He said, hey, there's this thing called a ladder. His name's Jofo. Shout out Jofo. He said, hey, there's this thing called a ladder. And in the ladder bet, you can bet them like multiple times over
Okay.
to get like, oh, he's going to get over 50, 60, 70, 80. You know, up
Right,
to,
you can
however,
continuously
and tier
stack
the
your-
bet-
you can
and then
stack
get
your
the-
bet. Yeah.
Exactly. And so I like the idea of stacking T. Higgins here and saying, look, the line right now, I think is at like 57.5.
I'll take him over 57.
Right. That's what I. That's
Especially
like, that's
if
easy
Minka,
money.
especially if no safety's playing, and KZ's out, right? Because
Right.
KZ's suspended for the year.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
Yeah.
100%. I think a lot of people.
Bet the mortgage. Take another mortgage out.
This is one of those games where I think a lot of people underestimate the ability of the wide receiver core. They don't run the ball much, and I know I like Joe Mixon in this game because I see the Bengals going ahead early, trying to keep the ball on the ground, especially against the Cincinnati or the Steelers defensive front because they can't tackle going up the middle of the field, and Joe Mixon's really good in between the tackles.
You like Joe Mixon this game?
I like Joe Mixon in this game just because I see a high-scoring game with the Bengals. But I think one of the biggest issues is that they're going to throw the ball, and Trent Irwin and Tyler Boyd are going to get touches in this game. And I would argue Tyler Boyd is... I know he had a bad drop in that one game where he was expected to be the number 2 receiver, and he dropped it in the end zone. But I think with the practice with Jake Browning, this is a big difference in this game. And I do like starting Jake Browning in this game. A lot of people might not like it. It's the Steelers' defense. It is a pretty good, hard-hitting defense that does score in fantasy, but can't seem to stop anybody from getting down the field in big
They're
plays.
exhausted. Their offense is 29th. You know, so like as far as like
bad.
when can they get off the field and rest? They're not. You know, if they can't sustain.
But they're phenomenal in the red zone.
Yeah,
They're top 10 in the red zone.
Ben don't break defense. That's coaching, really, is what that is. That has and players.
Don't you give that
But
to
you know-
Tomlin. Don't you give that to Tomlin. That's Ben don't
That's who
break
it belongs-
defense.
That's who it belongs with because they know that they're going to be out on the field anyways. So they're like, yeah, give up a play, just don't give up a touchdown. And it's like, all right, now you gotta like you're going to get a field goal. You're not going to get a touchdown.
Right.
And then we have to score more than a field goal, you know, and they've been in every game. Every game's been tight. Their record's 7-7. That tells you exactly with the type of offensive talent that they have, and they're able to still be 7-7. That's nuts.
Oh, I completely agree. And it's funny because my projections are still live for them. 9-7.
Yeah,
9-7.
and they definitely have the schedule going forward that they can do that.
I mean, especially if the Ravens take off week 17,
They might.
could be a win for them.
They might.
Well, we'll see what happens with that 49ers game. Now, so key players, right? So like a lot of people in their Super Bowls in their fantasy or in their Super Bowls or semifinals in their fantasy. And do you see a good start out of a kicker in this game? Do you think you can get some high production out of a kicker to kind of take a team over the edge, or a defense that take a team over the edge, or anybody here that you kind of like that you're like, I like this as a flex?
It's not.
It's early in the week, right? So like we have to pay attention to this because there's a lot of people out this week, right? When you look at like Brian Robinson out, he's not. They already announced him out this week. C.J. Stroud out. We're still waiting on Nico Collins to see what's going on in that game. I think there's a few other players that are still out. Like obviously people are still missing Christian Kirk. Tyreek Hill's supposed to play. H-Hand's supposed to play.
I haven't done any research on kickers, KJ, if that's what you're asking. So
Well,
no,
here's what I'm saying. It's not so much about kickers, right? You got McPherson and you have I can't remember the other kicker's name. Boswell. It's not about that. It's about it's about scoring opportunities, right? Do you see the Steelers when they hit the red zone scoring touchdowns? And that's how I look at a kicker in this situation: is who has the more scoring opportunities, or do you see more field goals coming from a team? And that's kind of how I look at it. And I think with, like we said about the Steelers.
What was the score of the game when they played the first time?
It was.
I want to say it might have been like 10 to 26.
It was a couple weeks ago.
Was it 26-10?
It was 16-10.
16-10.
16-10.
I knew it was something with the 6-10. So, all right. So, we're going to have a similar game. 26, what is that, 36 total points?
26.
36 total points. Oh, 26 total points?
20.
Yeah.
26, yeah.
16-10? Yeah.
So you like the under in this game then, huh?
Yeah, why wouldn't I? You're playing in Pittsburgh in the end of December. It's a little bit chilly. You got backup quarterbacks. Like, nothing here is saying high scoring. I mean, outside of the defenses being injured, but, like, I think that the Steelers are going to run the ball. And, like, because DJ Reader's out, I think Warden is probably a guy that I'm going to bet the over on yards for. And just like I think that Warren may be able to get 50 or 60 rushing yards this game because they're going to be playing backup quarterback anyway.
If they start Warren
So,
over
and that's going to
Najee.
kill the clock. And then, like, on the other side, they're like, we don't want to get any more players injured. Let's run the ball with Mixon and play T. Higgins, and, we'll call it a day on third downs. So that's just my take. I don't
I don't disagree with you, but who do you like in this game then?
I keep going like back and forth on this. It's tug of war for me because like at one time I'm pulling for the Bengals.
You just
because
can't hate the Steelers
Browning,
because it's the
But like but I do trust the Steelers for battle. They're like a defensive battling team.
It's like the Jets. You just don't know.
Yeah, I don't like and so I'm leaning because they're at home and the Vegas is giving them points. So that's like an insult to them that I'm going to take the Steelers at home against the Bengals, no matter who the quarterback is. But I really do think it's going to be a one-score game.
All right, I'm gonna make this easy on you. I'm gonna go Bengals
24-20 Steelers. They cover.
Okay, all right.
And then some.
I'm gonna go Bengals 27-17.
That's a 10-point sway, buddy.
Yep.
Wow.
I just think the Bengals are that much better.
Browning is good. Like we're not taking
And
away,
the
but everyone's talking about how good Browning is. I don't want to go down that road, but he is good.
Browning has produced, and I hate, like you said, I don't want to go down that road, but he's been more productive than Joe Burrow has been
all
this year.
season.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, and it's hard to say, and he's releasing the ball quicker, which is also impressive.
70. I think he's rushed 77% of the time. He completes his passes on being pressured. Like he's still doing it.
And he's throwing more yards downfield than Burrow has all season long.
Yeah, I mean that's the cool thing about not giving a F. It's that's like Brett Favre when he's on the pain pills.
Why would you give it? Why
Let it go.
Why would you care as a receiver or as a quarterback when you have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins?
Nothing to lose.
But you have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Why would you care?
Turnovers because he's not. Because listen, dude, when the players get paid. I'm sorry, this is anecdotal. There's no evidence behind this. This is just my take.
I think there's evidence.
Well, when you get paid, there's pressure behind that money. And the pressure behind that money is to produce. And when you're focused on how much you're making and what the fans are saying and everybody, and they're paying you millions and millions and $100 millions, and every person in the media is going to be calling you out, there's added pressure to every dollar that you get. And so when you get those dollars, I don't care if you're as cool as Joe Burrow. You add up $190 million, and you got 190 million reasons not to throw an interception.
Joe Cool. All right, man. I like the takes. We'll move on from here. We'll go into that second Saturday game. The second Saturday game, you have Buffalo going into L.A. after they just fired their head coach. Now, this is a funny one, right? Because it seems to be every time they fire somebody, that team seems to shine.
Fire and rally.
It's so weird.
Fire and rally.
Now, we have to keep in mind, right? We don't have Justin Herbert in this game, right? We have Stick, Eason Stick, in this game. Keenan Allen, he's still out. So you're dealing with Quentin Johnston and
Palmer.
Josh Palmer. And then you still have the half of a man of Austin Eckler. He's just not been Austin Eckler this year. Mm-hmm. And then you have tight ends. So, I mean, was it Donald Parham and not Evan Ingram? I can't remember the dude's name.
Yeah, it's not. No one's getting excited talking about the Chargers offense, okay?
No
one's getting excited talking about the Chargers offense.
But I think this is huge for Buffalo right now, right?
Austin Eckler is good when, he was good last year when they were throwing to him out of the backfield on checkdowns and he could create plays. I think that, he's a little more wear and tear.
Thank you, Kelly. Gerald Everett was the other tight end I was looking for. Thank you.
The wear and tear on Eckler from running the ball I think it's taken its toll at this point.
I think he's proven he's not a running back.
No, he's
a receiver that can run the ball.
Guys can make a career out of that, but
not many.
To your point, I think that if they had drafted correctly and backup running backs in the rookie, over the last 2 years they've drafted multiple running backs outside of the first and second round, and none of those guys have turned into anything. So that comes back to like scouting and who you're grabbing in those later rounds. That like, can we get somebody to, alleviate some of the pressure off Eckler as far as first and second down work, and then rotate him in. And, if they had gone out and grabbed a guy like David Montgomery in the offseason that could have done exactly what Swift is doing.
I don't know if they could have.
They went and they got Mac. They went and got veterans on the defensive side of the ball.
I know, but as good as Austin Eckler played, right? I don't know if they could have because they paid Austin Eckler.
Well, every year they keep Keenan Allen, and every year he keeps getting money, and every year he keeps producing, and every year he keeps getting injured. So
no comment there. I don't disagree with you, but
whatever you're spending your money on, it's on injured players in Michael Williams. It's on injured players in Keenan Allen. It's on guys that aren't half producing in Austin Eckler, and they got rid of the guy. I think that was, probably one of the reasons they're there. But like Kellen Moore got there, and we were supposed to see something this year. I'm highly disappointed, and I'm not a Chargers fan.
I don't know if
I wanted to be a Chargers fan this year.
I wasn't disappointed in the offense.
Really?
It was the defense that just continuously doesn't stack up to what is on that defense. And the same argument you just said, injury. When has Bosa played a full season, right? Like, he came into this league as a stout player, and he just can't stay healthy. And when he goes down, everybody else starts to go down around him. So I agree with you. I think this team is actually in a full rebuild coming up.
No.
Outside of Justin Herbert.
Right.
I think this team is in a full rebuild.
You said full rebuild.
I know, but you have something to build around in Justin Herbert, right? So you have. I don't even know if they have that bad of an O-line. I mean, it's kind of injured, but I think they're going to go trenches in this offseason, and I think they're gonna. Mm-hmm. I don't know what they do at coach. Do they give Kellen Moore the opportunity?
I hope so, but I also don't. I don't want to set him up for failure. And I think that they need to go grab Bill Belichick, and they need to bring him over.
So did you see the recent news, the Harbaugh news, that he's the most favorite to go to L.A.? They've actually reached out to him.
I guess that could be a thing, too. I don't know.
All right, so
someone's got to go there. I think it's going to be defensive coach. It's not going to be an offensive coach. I think Kellen Moore will stay as offensive coordinator, so that way they have some what's the word I'm looking for? Consistency in the team and the dynamic in the locker room within the offense. And then that'd be good, yeah. And then just all right, we already have the players set up for defense. Now we just need schematics.
Give me trenches and then someone build the defense around.
Yeah, just core. Just get some culture and foundation built and be all right, guys, hey, we're now a winning organization.
They've got, like you said, they have the pieces.
Yeah.
So how about Buffalo in this game? Do we think Buffalo's just going to take this game or just roll with the punches?
James Cook plus $1 million for rushing yards. I think he's going to be the guy here as far as.
You think they rest him at all and put in Lat Murray?
I don't see it. I really just think that they're just going to say, hey, let's get out of here, stay injury free, give it to the young running back, and then on third down we'll do the Stephon Diggs. And then underneath to somebody.
So here's my worry in this game, right? I agree with you. I don't see a lot of production in the receivers in this game. Gabe Davis does not play well away. Stephon Diggs has been struggling the last few games. I don't know if that's Josh Allen's fault or if it's the fact that they're running 2 tight end sets now. Dawson Knox is back.
Asante Samuel Jr. is a very good corner.
That's a good point, too. That's a very good point,
He's going to be on whoever's on the right side. I don't think he travels with Diggs, but
wherever he lines up, he might follow.
And Derwin James is still over the top, and Mack is still underneath.
So you see more of a tight end game.
What I see is running the ball with James Cook.
Well, I mean, but you have to make passes. That's why I'm saying, do you see
on the third downs? It's underneath because they're going to send Diggs deep, and you have to double him with James and Samuel.
So you
be underneath guys.
Do you like Shakir?
Maybe, but not overly because I don't think that there's going to be a lot of third downs. I think they're going to be able to run the ball.
Okay, so even Josh Allen possibly for over on maybe yardage.
245 on yardage on this game. I don't know that they're going to be throwing it a lot. That's why I'm saying I like James Cook probably to go for 80 or 90 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. And the Chargers are not going to be able to move the ball, and the Bills are going to be fine punting because they're going to have the lead early. I see them getting a 14 or a 21-point lead early, and they're going to be on cruise control in the third and fourth quarter.
This is a game where you have to start the Bills defense. If you have the Bills defense, go start them.
What are the 49ers? What are the Chargers playing for? They're playing to spoil the Bills' soup.
At this point, yeah.
I mean, what are they?
I agree.
Some pride. Are they going to do a pride game?
I would argue Easton Stick is playing to get a job.
Okay.
I would argue that. So I think Easton's going to go out there and try his best to win this game.
Do you think Quentin Johnston's getting like some reps for like the rookie for like development stuff? Do you think like because his over/under's at 28 yards?
I'll take him over.
Okay,
I'll take him over 28.
I thought so too.
Yeah. I think the biggest issue is Palmer's the target, right? Like Palmer's been the solid 2 on this team forever.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. Well, since Williams goes down every other year.
Right.
But yeah, it's so, and then like I said, it's tight ends. And Wheels brings us up all the time is young quarterbacks who aren't familiar with the system, who don't get a lot of rep time, throw to the big targets, their tight ends. The Evan Ingrams, the Donald Parhams. The guys that you know are big targets that can catch the ball. Which is why I don't kind of like Quentin Johnston up the sideline, because that's essentially where he gets thrown to. But I'll still take him over 28. He's probably going to have 5 or 6 targets at least, right? So, I mean, I can see him over 28. Obviously, you're going to start Josh Allen in this game. Ryan always says start your studs. I hate that statement because, like you just said, maybe Stephon Diggs doesn't pop off, but I think you have to start Stephon Diggs.
He's going to get 7 receptions for 70 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, so that's 15 points easily. And you have to start your studs at this point in the season. There's a reason you have them. I think that's kind of all I got here. But going into this, there is a player I wanted to talk about who is kind of in the mix today, right? About MVP talks. And I know a lot of people might not like the fact that I'm talking about this player in MVP talks, but he's still in the conversation. Josh Allen, right, is one of those guys that has to be in these MVP talks at this point. I misplaced my button.
That's okay. We'll ask Anna. Is he good at finding the button?
I don't know where my button went.
On the remote.
Whatever.
Hey, while we're doing this, can I say hi to someone? Hi, Benjamin. Hello.
Hello.
Daddy loves you, buddy.
All right, we're just going to click on this. All right.
Shout out to Daniel, too. I don't want to see favorites.
There's a button missing. It's driving me insane.
But, Daniel, I did think of you second because you're my second born. All right, enough said. You want to give a shout out to anybody, KJ?
No. They're already out there. She knows it. Struggle was real, sweetheart. I apologize. So in this, you see this graphic here?
Yeah, I see this.
So this is the quarterbacks that are up for the conversations for MVP. Just the quarterbacks. I have another graphic for the other guys. But this is the quarterbacks that are up for conversation for the MVP. Obviously, everything that is highlighted in orange
is them leading that category.
Yes. Now
it's dispersed.
Now, as you see,
Brock Purdy's none, 0.
Brock Purdy's not leading
but he's
any of those.
average in all of them.
But he's above average in all of them. That's the funnier part. He's like number 2 in almost every stat. So I have a question for you. Outside of the MVP conversation, do you want the guy that is number 2 in everything or that excels in one thing over another?
So
like the jack of all trades or the master of one?
We call it min-maxing. And min-maxing in a video game sense is like dumping one stat. In backyard baseball, you'd have the guy that hit the home run versus the guy that had the speed. Remember, in backyard, the kids playing their sports or whatever. And like Mario was always like the balanced guy, right? And like he never had like the full power. He always had like, he was just balanced. Now, was Mario the MVP? Some would say, yeah. I mean, he's the face of the franchise. I personally would rather have, as an MVP, I like the intangibles. I'm more of an intangibles guy because I think that the numbers are so variant to their team, their makeup, their scheme, their system. None of these guys are system quarterbacks. None of these guys are like Brock Purdy is, because Garoppolo had similar numbers when he was with them.
Right. I think better. He's had better numbers.
Right. So I personally would rather have a guy that's a game changer and a game maker and a game winner. For the quarterbacks, I think that Lamar's my guy.
You know what's funny? And it's I rag on Lamar a lot. And I've said he's actually had a great season. I can't jump on him this season. And Ryan's like, who has to be the MVP? It's got to be Lamar. Obviously, Ravens fan, truther. That's what he wants. Mm-hmm. And based on what Lamar has done this year, I think that's a good argument, because when you look at his total yardage, he's got 3,800 plus yards. Now, my only issue is, right, like Lamar doesn't have the weapons. Like, he lost Mark Andrews. He's had no Mark Andrews for at least 4 weeks. He's dealing with no running
J.K.
back.
Dobbins.
Yeah, he's literally dealing with like no running back at this point. He's got Gus and Justice Hill. He lost Keaton Mitchell last game. Now, my only issue here is when we're talking MVPs, we're talking cream of the crop, best seasons of all time. And when you're looking of the season, like it's best stats of all the season.
Gotcha.
And when you're looking at the stats up here, I see a quarterback that's surpassing him in every which way, shape, or form, and that's Tua. And now Tua arguably has the best receiving core out of all of these quarterbacks.
And the best running backs.
Well, injuries, right? So he's been dealing with injuries too because Achan's been out for 6 to 8 games this season. Now Mostert's having a phenomenal year.
PPF, because you just got it, I'll inform you. PFF, they have it. They're showing Achane and Mostert are both top 5 running backs PFF standings. So, like, that means doing the right things on the right plays, running the right routes, hanging on to their balls, doing the right things.
So so this is where I have complications with PFF. Is the fact that congratulations, you're
Pass
really
blocking.
good. You're really good when you're on the field. The
Pass
problem is
blocking.
how often have you been on the field this year?
Pass routes. It's a grade per snap percentage, right?
No,
It's a grade per snap percentage. So it's when they're on the field
Correct.
producing.
Correct.
They're grading them on that play.
Correct.
So it has nothing to do with how many plays and are you available. Availability is the best ability. Always.
Correct.
I agree.
And that's the argument I'm saying is Achan has not been out there.
Tua can have comeback player of the year. He's not getting MVP.
He doesn't get comeback player of the year.
Yeah, he will.
He's actually the only one that's technically come back, but I would give
Matt
comeback.
Stafford.
I would give comeback player of the year to Matt Stafford because Matt Stafford's having a phenomenal comeback.
But he's got
season.
Pakua, and he's got Pakua.
Puka Nacua, but he's a rookie, right?
Comeback.
But I would argue
Anyway.
Puka Nacua is a rookie at this point. But all I'm saying is
What
like
about 15 turnovers?
that's huge. That is huge, and you do
Compared
not
to
want to be
9 or
leading in that
7.
stat. You do not want to be leading in that stat. I completely agree with you. But he's almost got 4,000 yards. He's got a 71% completion percentage, which is the highest in the league. I mean, and you're looking now. Granted, he doesn't rush the ball, but we all knew that about Tua. We knew he doesn't escape the pocket. Kelly, I would agree with the Brock Purdy argument, but when you're talking receivers, Brock Purdy does not have better receivers than Tua. I don't care what you say. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are hands down better than Deebo Samuel and Ayuk. Running backs, I would argue this tandem of Mostert and Achan is probably better than CMC by himself, but CMC is having an astounding year. But saying that, why don't we get into that conversation, right? Now, here's CMC stats. It's going to take you a second for the big screen. Here's CMC stats as opposed to Tyreek Hill. Now, obviously, CMC is going to be leading in rushing yards. That's obvious. It's an obvious one. 1292, 5.3 yards per carry. That's a phenomenal yards per carry. He has 509 reception yards, total of 1,801 yards, 20 touchdowns, 3 turnovers, and that's all on 68 targets and 57 receptions. Whereas Tyreek Hill, obviously, he doesn't rush the ball. He has 15 rushing yards, 1,542 receiving yards, averaging 15.9 yards per reception. Total yards, 1,557, 12 touchdowns, 1 turnover, 132 targets, and 97 receptions.
There's still 3 games left.
Correct, but those 3 games CMC still plays in. So I would argue CMC, hands down, should earn Offensive Player of the Year or MVP. And I think he's got a better argument for MVP because he's actually having the best season of most running backs of all time. So, I mean, he's looking to break over 2,000 yards and 25 touchdowns by the end of the year. 25 touchdowns. I said that right.
Yeah.
And that's pretty freaking impressive.
Yeah, you're not going to hear an argument over here.
Yeah. So my only argument is I don't think it's Tyreek. That's my only argument.
I don't know who says it is or who was or why that's up there.
I heard Kittle recently.
Well, I think that my MVP is still going to be Lamar. Now, remember, you can draw any of these names out of a hat and you'd be right.
Yeah, I mean, you can have an argument positively for any of these guys.
Yeah, I mean, you could pull any of these guys' names out of a hat, make the argument, and that's your guy, and you could have a valid case. Absolutely.
So here's my argument, though.
But the season's not over.
Right. Well, and
what's more impressive?
And it's not until end of the year.
Christian McCaffrey is the most impressive player per position, scoring,
What's up,
stats,
RC?
utilization, whatever the hell you want to call it. he's the most outstanding player.
And that's my argument, right?
Know,
So
I hear you.
Tyreek Hill to me.
We just have to enlighten everybody else.
Yeah, Tyreek Hill to me.
And I think no one would disagree with you. I think everybody would agree and say, we stop the quarterback BS, call it the best quarterback in the NFL, get rid of the MVP thing, because every year we go through this where we bring up a guy like Justin Jefferson, who had an amazing season last season, should have been considered the MVP and wasn't. And it was
he
like,
should have been the MVP.
Rinse, wash, repeat with Pat Mahomes because we need to sell jerseys.
Did he get Offensive Player of the Year?
Yeah.
He did?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I just want to make sure. Kyle Shanahan he will not get Coach of the Year. We always said this because he's not exceeding expectations. He does exactly what he's supposed to do.
Right.
So like if he's not really doing anything
Dan Campbell
different.
and it's D'Amico Ryans, and like that's for me. Those are my two guys.
Dan Campbell is not exceeding expectations. He's actually doing what he was supposed to do. That's why last year he should have gotten Coach of the Year because he exceeded his expectations. D'Amico, I agree with you, but it's going to Shane Steichen. Shane Steichen with Gardner Minshew and without JT almost all year. That's pretty freaking impressive. The fact that they're already almost about to lock in a playoff position, depending on what happens this week.
Beautiful thing.
So that's why I say Steichen and D'Amico. Dan Campbell is when he loses the next 2 weeks in a row, which would be freaking ridiculous. If he loses to Minnesota against Nick Mullins, he's got an issue.
When was the last time that the Lions won the conference?
Stafford was there.
You were 3.
Was I 3? Is it that long ago?
Yeah, it was 30 years ago.
Stafford took him to the playoffs. Did he not? Was it a wild card game?
It must have been a wild card game. Because they had not won the division in 30 years.
They still might not.
Yeah, they will. I think that they definitely will.
I mean, if they lose against Minnesota this week, Minnesota's 8 and whatever, 8 and 7, and then Dallas or Detroit is 10 and.
I'm just giving it to Dan because 30 years is an
5.
insane amount of time to not win a division.
I agree.
And for this team to do it and for him to get in
93.
there. 93. You were 3. That's what I was saying.
That's funny. That is kind of crazy, though.
That's what So that's my. But the same reason where you're saying Steichen, you're like more impressed with the lack of expectations at the beginning of the year and how good of a turnaround both those AFC South teams were. But
plus first-time head coach.
But here's the thing that pisses me off about it, just a little bit that pisses me off about it, just a little bit. That is that the Jaguars and the Tennessee Titans are in their division because
But the Jags were dominating, right? The Jags were supposed to be playoff bound.
Dominating.
I mean, they beat Buffalo.
Don't make me do the. Are you sure about that?
They beat Buffalo. They beat Miami. Did they not?
I don't know.
I think those were the 2 teams they played in London. They beat them both.
They lost to a lot of decent teams.
Oh, and they're on a downturn right now. I see them losing the next few games.
Bad.
So, and that's a Doug Peterson argument, right?
But that's why I'm saying
And he won Coach of the Year last year, did he not?
Yeah.
I think Dougie P won last year, Coach of the Year.
Defensive Player of the Year. Who do you got?
I got that right here for you too. I got another conversation for you here.
Coach of the Year 2023 was.
Here's one for you. Okay, so this is another fun conversation for a lot of people out there because everybody likes to do the comparison, TJ Watt and Myles Garrett. Okay, so don't get me wrong, both these guys are probably first-round ballot Hall of Famers, and they are studs at their position. Brian Daboll's not going to win Coach of the Year.
No, that's who won it last year.
Daboll won it last year? Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So TJ Watt leading in sacks, and that's all anybody cares about, right? It feels like that's all anybody cares about. Even though
they should care about.
Even though I feel like you should be winning in wins if you're winning in sacks at this point.
No. Never.
Passes deflected, he's also leading in with 7. Now, outside of that, the dude never gets double teamed. Okay, it's a quarter of the time. He gets double teamed.
Don't use absolutes, dude.
I know. It's a quarter of the time he gets double teamed. He has a 23% win percentage. Micah Parsons, 12.5 sacks, having a phenomenal year. 37% win percentage against the rush. 32% of the time he's double teamed. Is that a stat, Kelly? A quarter of the time he goes untouched? I would 100% believe that. And then Myles Garrett, 13 sacks, 36 solo tackles, 4 forced fumbles, and his win percentage is 30%, which is number 2 in the NFL, and double teamed the second most, right behind Micah at 31%.
Right.
Then Max Crosby, 13.5 sacks, 48 solo tackles, which is the most for a defensive end. Win percentage, 19%, which is pretty low. And then double team just as much as Myles Garrett, or as TJ Watt, sorry. And then Danielle Hunter at the end, which is 15.5 sacks. He's number 2 in sacks. Solo tackles, 46, number 2 in that. Forced fumbles, number 1, tied with Myles Garrett at 4. Interception, 0. Passes deflected, 2. I could not find his win percentage or double team percentage. I know you gave me PFF, but I don't know if we'll be able to find that anytime soon.
You can get it later, dude.
So, but those stats there. Now, I don't have the cornerbacks right now because to me, I think that we could argue that there's some cornerbacks that are possibly better, but this seems like a defensive end award every year.
It's becoming that, yeah.
Is that what it's feeling like right now? Because like Aaron Donald, now granted,
unless you get the interceptions, like you know what I mean, then
like you're breaking an interception record,
like 11 picks, you know.
And they're arguing Deron Bland, but like Deron Bland, I can't have a conversation about Deron Bland. He had 3 good games. He did break a record, actually tied a record for pick sixes. But what has he done? How many yards has he given up in the NFL? Like outside of that, he's not a lockdown corner. He's really good at pressing short throws. That's really what he's good at.
I don't like that you don't have Bosa up there, though.
What do you need Bosa for?
Well, let me explain why I would like to have Bosa up there. Because it's not a big deal, dude. I'm not mad at it.
No, you're good.
I get what you're saying, but here's the reason why I like Bosa up there. None of those guys have clinched a playoff position yet. Not one. Not one of them. None of those guys up there have clinched a payoff. Bosa has. Here's the second thing I'll mention. Bosa doesn't just sack people. He also is very good in coverage, and he's good against the rush.
All right. So
a lot of these guys are great against the pass.
Okay.
Great against the pass. Bosa's good against both. And that's where I think he's the differentiator and should be considered a Defensive Player of the Year guy. But I lean towards the Bosa boys because I'm an Ohio State guy. So I got a little bit of bias. But at the same time, that's why. Because he's good in pass coverage. He can rush the passer, and he can stop the run. He allows you to only rush 3 or 4 and still be productive. Some of these other guys, they require other people on the other side of the ball to allow them to get open. TJ Watt to do the SWAT. You know, but nobody else does that. So Bosa's my dude anyway.
So Bosa, I don't have, that's not on here either. For ESPN, they don't have him ranked at all for win percentage or double team percent, which is weird because ESPN has Micah, Miles, Will Anderson, Jadeveon Clowney, TJ Watt, Brian Burns, Bryce Huff, Trey Hendrickson, Max Crosby, Boye Mafe, Josh Sweat. Like, they have a lot of people on here, so I'm assuming if he's not above the 30% or the 20% threshold, he's probably not on here. Oh my God, is there an arrow? No, there's not. I was like, thought maybe that there was more. So he's not in the top 20. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
And that's for the double team and win rate.
I got you.
Now, if we go to his stats, right? Mm-hmm. We'd just go to stats because I understand you're saying game impact sometimes matters more than stats.
85 tackles?
No.
Okay.
No. Total tackles is 46, 29 solo. So those tackles up there are solo. So he's kind of middle of the pack on the solo. Is actually second, right behind Micah. 10.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 3 passes deflected. So, like, he's not having a great year, but I would argue most of this has come recently since the signing of Chase Young. Since they picked up Chase Young off Washington, they have had nothing but nothing but improved stats. So this could change, right, in 3 weeks.
It's a possibility.
Now, I don't see him having 5 or 6 sacks. I don't see him impacting that much at this point in time because of the teams they play to end the season. It's a tough end-of-season battle. And the tackles. Now, I understand you saying kind of making him a baseline.
Why the hell and maybe I need to look at PFF and see why they're doing this, but you tell me. Because I've got, look at theirs versus ESPN's. Just real quick.
No, you're good. So, PFF... They have Bosa ranked number 2.
Right. Myles Garrett number 1, by the way. I don't know. I bet that's okay. I'm not. You and I can figure this out off air.
Yeah, for sure. I just want to see what some of these We're gonna have to look at these.
Take a look at that. Tell me what you think. But that's why I looked at it when I was doing my research, and I was going, dude, against the run, like Myles Garrett's good. He's just not the best against the run, and probably because he's getting double team and held. But nonetheless, Bosa.
I mean, he's not bad against the run this year compared to what he probably was previous years. I actually don't like the fact that they even have a coverage stat for a defensive end.
They should.
But defensive ends don't cover. They shouldn't.
They do.
Their job's to get to the quarterback. This is where I would argue. This is why I don't like
that Bosa's an outside linebacker.
This is where I don't like to argue
TJ Watt's an outside linebacker.
TJ Watt and Myles Garrett. They're two different positions. We want to argue Micah and TJ all day. Let's do it. Let's do it because Micah and TJ both play the same.
3-4-3 outside linebackers.
Yep, they both play the same position.
All right.
Myles Garrett never plays in coverage.
All right, so you got the number 1 pick in the draft on the defensive side. You've already gotten your offensive all completely drafted. You're on the defensive side of the ball. Who are you taking today?
Myles.
Yeah,
I would take Myles just because of the impact on the offense.
And I would take Bosa.
I can understand that.
Yeah.
I really can.
And I sure as someone else would say, no, I'm taking Minka or Micah.
I would almost take Micah because of he's so impactful everywhere.
Yeah,
right.
Dude. But that's the way I view Bosa as well.
I agree.
And in the locker room, dude, I want Crosby. But in the locker room, I want Crosby.
I want that attitude.
On the field, I want Bosa.
I want that attitude
in the locker
all
room,
day.
I want Crosby.
All day. I agree with you. There's 2 guys in the locker room I would prefer,
Crosby,
and it would probably be Bosa and Crosby.
Did you see if they did a short? He's got the cigar and he does like this inhale and it's
Did you hear the running joke? I heard about this recently.
What's that?
So with the Rashard Mendenhall.
Oh yeah, the
whole
white guys,
thing.
black guys.
Did you hear that the black
Civil War?
Did you hear the black guys took Max Crosby?
That's good.
I was like, that's messed up, man. That's messed up.
Makes sense.
So it's kind of all I got. Comeback player of the year. I kind of agree with you. It's between 2 players. It's Tua and Matt Stafford. If anybody out there says, whatchamacallit, Dwambulance, Damar Hamlin.
Everyone's giving it to him. That's where all the odds are.
It's so insane just because he stepped on the field for 4 games. Like, come on. I guess that's just a trophy winner. I mean, I got nothing kind of else today. Is there anything you saw out in the news or out in the ether that you wanted to talk about today in football? I mean,
I think we should talk a little bit about fantasy football and do a quick little debate between you and I.
Sure.
And the debate will be this. When should the playoffs be?
So, depending on the league, depending on how many teams you have, as long as your Super Bowl doesn't end week 18, back then it used to be week 17 because it was only a 17-week season. As long as it's not the last week of the year.
18-week, 1 bye. Last year was 17-week, 1 bye.
Yeah, as long as it's not the last week of the year, a Super Bowl where teams are taking time off. You can never, if teams are taking time off on the second to last week, you can't predict that.
You don't think so?
No, you can't. Especially with the way the league's running this year. Like, you just can't predict it. So if you're ending the league 2 weeks early,
all right,
I think that's a tough one, mainly because of the situation with there are players that when you're looking at scheduling and you're looking at all that, those are the weeks that you play people. Now, I know why you're bringing this up because of the league that I'm in with you, and I just didn't see it.
You're okay. No.
So,
hey, time out. That's neither here nor there.
No. I'm just saying I didn't see it.
I just wanted to save it for this debate because I thought it would be better on Joe. I thought it'd be better on Cam than over the chat.
So he doesn't answer me all week.
Well, it's not all week. You did this yesterday. Time out, dude. Dude, don't be trying to throw me under the bus like I'm not communicating. Okay. But I'll tell you this. Here's the reason.
Kelly, thanks for the context. That's 100% what happened. I had no idea.
But before we get into you not setting a lineup that was competitive in a league, all right, NFL boy.
Oh, it was a bad week. No, I didn't have anybody to play, and I didn't want to drop anybody. It was a bad week.
Which is weird because, here's the thing that I thought.
And I was taking the loss.
Here's in the playoffs.
I'm not knowing it was the playoffs.
Bold strategy. Very bold strategy. So
playing for next year.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there are keepers. My thought was this though, was saying, I believe that if I'm the 49ers and I'm the Ravens and we are 3 weeks still removed from the playoffs, but we've already clinched our spot. Am I risking Deebo Samuel, Ayuk, McCaffrey, Kittle? Now, I can get that number one spot by getting an early lead in the first and second quarter and maintaining. But am I going to play them in the third or fourth quarter if I don't need to? If we've already established a lead that's good enough, am I going to continue my starters to continue to play to solidify the win? If I've already gotten a good lead, would I sit some guys in the second half?
We can project that out all day, but that doesn't happen.
I don't. Here's the thing: is I didn't want to risk that.
But it hasn't happened.
I think it has.
In the NFL, it doesn't happen. One because they're always competing for home field advantage. So if you're not competing for the AFC, you're competing for the NFC.
There's a difference between like going for a win and like putting up fantasy ass whoopings.
I'm not talking. Okay, so your argument, right? Your argument
Throttling.
is that the fantasy aspects of it are impacted by the NFL aspects of it. But my argument is that the NFL is not going to sit until they've clinched both first place.
I'm not talking about sitting a whole game. I'm talking about they're going to go, their snap percentage is going to go from 80 to 60.
You'd have to find me an example.
We'll look at
that
look
happening
at it later.
Before
later. We don't need to drag everybody in.
Right. No, I understand. But my point is that like this hasn't happened because that was my worry.
The Bengals-Bills game, ejected championship last year, was when somebody, now that's a freaking one-off death on the field, guy does this crazy nonsense that happened in week 17.
Yeah, we can't project
that wasn't
that
like a playoff thing.
And to be honest, that affected all leagues, no matter when your Super Bowl was.
All of these do.
Yeah.
My thing is mitigating that risk, though.
You can't.
I did.
I guess.
Right.
Not really.
Kind of.
Not really.
Yes.
Because no one's sitting that week.
Hey, let's take a look at the snap percentage week 16 this week, and then we'll look at week 17.
And you would have to look at it. You would have to look at it for all studs. But my argument is, in this situation,
just your team. We'll just look at it for your team.
No, I don't even really care.
No. I'm saying we will, though. We'll compare the snap percentages on week 16 to week 17.
I was going to do that, and many people complained. And I gave you guys the options last year when we did the show live. There was 5 options you could do last year for finishing out the season.
Right.
And that was because I remember the picture, yours and my picture was on that graphic that I put up.
Right.
But yeah, no, I and here's the reason why, like, I kind of agree with you. I understand mitigating players sitting, but at the same time, when you're drafting at the beginning of the season, you have to understand some teams are going to be good and they're going to clinch that first seed. So drafting and knowing schedules is a big factor of fantasy. It's a strategic game. And if you're not taking strategy into account, right, I just don't think you're playing fantasy well.
Like knowing the rules?
Oh, for sure.
And knowing when the playoffs are?
I didn't see it.
And knowing where the championship is?
I didn't see it.
I'm just saying, you can't have your cake and eat it too.
When was that announced in our league?
No, the league settings, you go into the box. And then
but
you click
was
settings.
It pre-draft? Because even when we drafted, we didn't know we had defenses and kickers not in that league.
What?
We still thought we had more drafting, all of us. No. We have that in the league chat. But I'm not. That's a totally different situation.
I'm a wild screwball of a commissioner.
You did throw everything for a loop.
That's what I do.
But hey.
Keep you on your toes.
I'm not upset about it. I was just like, screw it. I thought I was in the playoffs. And I was like, yeah, I won.
No one said you were upset. We just got a live debate, a last-minute fantasy thing.
Yeah, we didn't know those positions were gone, Bo. I called you after the draft, and I was like, Bo, are we done drafting? Because there's 3 positions that no one's filled.
We didn't even know.
Yeah, no. And
How
you're
would
like,
they know?
You even got mad at me post-draft. You're like, don't be calling me whining about the draft. Just play. But no, like, it is what it is. Like,
anyway,
I like your thought process though, because I like mitigating risk, but at the same time,
yeah,
it's part of the game. It's called gambling for a reason, right?
Yeah, it is.
Gamble on it all.
I just tried mitigating this cap count. That's all I was saying.
Hey, it's family. Free money.
Free money.
Hey, any takeaways for this weekend for the holiday season?
No, I mean, you guys know what you're doing out there. Stay safe. Nothing good happens past midnight. So whatever you're doing, get home safely. Your friends, your family, your loved ones love you. So take care of yourself. Take care of your others. I think I heard someone say 4 gifts is enough, and I'll share this with our little fantasy family here. Something you want, something you need, something you wear, something you read, and you only need 4 gifts for Christmas. So, and I thought that was cool and worth sharing. Now, do my kids get just 4 gifts? Hell no. But I gave it to you.
I really
Merry
like
Christmas.
that. I really like that one.
I know you did. I knew you would, dude. I knew you would.
Now, I will argue, if he buys me a book, it's the worst gift ever. That's all I'm going to say, because I don't read. If it's not numbers and names, I don't read. Hence the stats. I hope you guys all do have a wonderful Christmas. I agree with him on this one. And I think it's also the end of Hanukkah for anybody that's Jewish out there too. So enjoy the rest of your menorah season. And hope everybody got what they wanted or gets what they want for the season. Mm-hmm. For me, it's family and friends. I hope to be around those people. It's what makes me the happiest out of everything. And I don't really need anything. So I just hope that everybody around us has a good time and that family and friends really do, like you said, are safe and have the best of time for the season. That being said, I will be back here with Wheels on Christmas Eve at 8 a.m.
Hallelujah.
Peace out, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful Christmas. See ya.